the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com. The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down.
The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com. The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
Are you guys ready for the talk of the show, the talk of the network here at rtfsportsnetwork.com? Coming at you right now is Snowman in the Morning.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
He did what?
A ground ball past Jenks up the middle of the infield. Uribe has it. He throws. Out! A White Sox winner and a world championship. The White Sox have won the World Series, and they're mobbing each other on the field.
You golden blank staggered black skeleton of blinking black punk are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Kobe Bryant on the move against Christie. In for the right. Flips his shot up. No good. O'Neal lays it up. Missed it. Ball tipped out to Horry. Is straight on three. Good! The Lakers have won! Robert Horry's greatest hits tour continues.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's got to be getting a Grammy for that one.
Good morning, and welcome to the Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. You can follow along with us on social media by dialing up SNW Digital Media for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. You can also log on to Snowman Digital Media for all of our great conversations from this show, as well as others produced by Snowman Digital Media. This is the best sports talk show you haven't heard of until now. You can hear us every Monday, which is today, through Friday on all of our great stations and networks in the region, across the nation, and around the world, and across the internet. And the podcast version of this here show will be available right after this show is completed. You ready to get into it? Good. Let's get started. Man, lots to do today. Got some great guests for you, and you'll know who those are throughout the course of the show. But I'm going to bring back a tradition, or something I like to call a tradition, to kick off the show. And that tradition is in the form of a funny husband story. I've been married nearly a year now to the love of my life, my precious Dr. K. And we recently went road tripping. We took a road trip to, get away for a little bit, have some time with each other, and pay a visit to my stepson, who I affectionately call my son because I really believe that he is. And I believe that because, spending time with him and getting to know him, he's so much like me. He's such a goofball, but doggone it, the kid's got his act together, or he's getting his act together, and I love that. I love that about him. But wife and I went road tripping, and, driving through the mountains, different things, and we just had some fun. We just had some fun. Of course, we had to plug in the audiobook. We couldn't take a road trip without Even Rourke, and those of you who know J.D. Robb will know those characters. There were so many things said that Rourke says to Eve during one of the books we were listening to, and my wife just looked right at me. She had this incredulous look with a big old smile, and I'm like, what? I wouldn't say those kind, and I cut myself off, and she starts laughing, and I go, of course I'd say those things. You know that. And then, Eve would say something, and in character, I would just point at her. And I love her for this, and it makes me laugh every time. She goes, do you think I would really, really say that? And before I could answer, she would just look at me and give me the finger. You know, that finger point? That finger point that a mom will give to her children, because she considers me one of her biggest children. My wife does, and I love it. We just had a chance to be goofy and get away for a couple of days. Did the show Friday, actually from Indiana, but we're back home, and it was a lot of fun. It was a road trip that needed to be taken. And as I said, it just allowed us a little bit of time to get away, to be goofy, to have fun, listen to the radio, blast some music, listen to some audiobooks. And husbands, let me tell you something. If you get a chance to take a road trip with your wife, take it. Because you never know what will come out of it. You'll never know what you'll talk about. You'll never know what will happen. And maybe it'll be one of those times where you just have to get away, where you guys just feel, okay, we need to do this. We need to get out of here for a while. So that's my funny husband story. We just had a chance to be goofy and have fun and tell jokes and laugh, and seriously laugh. And we had just been so bogged down with reality and everything that's going on in the world. We usually get up, go to work, and then come back. She fires up her side of the studio. I fire up mine, and we do the show. But we had a chance to get away, put some put some plans in place. This is why I hate rushing back home, because I have an idea of what I'm going to do, but it's just so crazy. But I had a blast. I absolutely had a blast. She had a blast. We're back home. We're safe, and we want you guys to stay home and stay safe while preventing the spread of this coronavirus. And who knows, later this week I may have a letter that an idea for a letter or an email that I will borrow from a couple of friends of mine. But yeah, that's the funny husband story for today. I'll have another one tomorrow, and I don't know which one I'm going to pull out of the bag. I've gotten so many of them, or I've gotten into so many of them. But I'll pull one out of the bag for tomorrow. So I had to hit you with that one to start the day off right and start the week off right. And speaking of starting the week off right, the next voice you hear will be that of one of my very dear friends in Cole Johnson. And we got a lot on the table. Speaking of a lot on the table, today I am so excited for today's show to kick off the week right, because at the top of hour 2, you'll hear the voice of 7-time Pro Bowler and former Miami Dolphin Richmond Webb. That's right. The 7-time Pro Bowler will be on this program, but you're going to have to wait to hear it. That'll be at the top of hour 2. And at the top of hour 3, the president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum himself, in Bob Kendrick, is going to join me. And one of my other good buddies, Quervante Hurd, will close the show. You know how we do it here. Sit back, relax, and strap it down. We're going to really get started. Cole Johnson, after the break.
Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
So, a friend of mine and I dropped an hour-long conversation in the form of A, an interview for this program, and B, a podcast for the Snowman in the Morning podcast and other ones that I do via Snowman Digital Media. And for lack of a better term, some people got butthurt over it. Good. Maybe now you'll do your research before you decide to challenge me. And the friend I did it with is on the other side of the hotline, Mr. Cole Johnson, the man in charge of Cole Sports, and he joins me now. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, doing good.
Why do people get so butthurt when we drop facts about LeBron? I'll just start there and we'll just dive right in.
You know, I really think they have formed this bond with a player like a LeBron James, and they live vicariously through him. And I don't get why such the hardcore attachment. Like one of the criticisms that our last conversation brought forth, saying that to call a certain section of fans, I guess you could say a negative name, is a turnoff. Well, there's this old school saying, and it is true all down the line, and it is hit dogs holler. So on my show, I have demonstrated what is the difference between a regular LeBron James fan and a bronsexual.
Mm-hmm.
So
great demonstration.
In my mind, thank you. In my mind as well as yours, you know there's a difference. I know there's a difference. We don't call all people who love LeBron James bronsexuals.
No.
Because the fandom is much different, because people who are legit fans of the guy actually have, words like objectivity. Words like accountability. Words like truth. All these things actually apply to a LeBron James fan. I know them. I have befriended them. They exist.
Yes, they do.
And they exist to the point where they say, you know what, my favorite player is LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen better players than him.
Yeah.
And other players have achieved more than he has.
Mm-hmm.
That is a LeBron James fan.
Yes.
A bronsexual is one where they say, well, okay, so Jordan is 6 for 6 in the finals. What did he do in the first round? Because my boy has never lost in the first round. Kobe Bryant, 5 for 7 for championships.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what did LeBron do when he played against Kobe? 16 to 6. See, they ain't that good. They have this insatiable appetite to uplift their man at the expense of others who have come before him. And you and I, more than likely, are addressing that other lack of respect.
Yep.
And so when I hear criticisms like that, I love the fact that they get the mirror turned on them and they see, oh wow, so you mean tell me my fandom is actually borderline stalkerish and ugly? And you have the nerve to point this out to me? Well, forget you.
Oh man.
And I think that is what you're seeing. And that is what I'm seeing.
I sent you some screenshots of a group that I was formerly in, and you and I were just laughing for a good hour with all of the comments that I got after I dropped that podcast and we dropped that knowledge on them. See, bronsexuals do not like truth and knowledge, okay? And one of my favorite comments, and I'm going to give you the floor on this, was 2 simple words: credibility lost when it came to my discussion of LeBron and the NBA. The floor is yours.
Credibility lost. All right. I will go to, I'll borrow your words actually in said conversation that we had, where you said that LeBron is a great athlete.
Mm-hmm.
From the Find a Lie department, I can't find it. You also said that he lacks being a complete basketball player.
Yes.
Again from the Find a Lie department, I can't locate it. And if they have issue with you or me saying that, well, fine. They may have issue with you and me saying that. However, I know of a former NBA player. He now is the bomb in China, Stephon Marbury, who ranted about the fact that, well, that's sort of true in his mind, because in his definition, there's 3 words he says about LeBron: you can't shoot. So again, from the Find a Lie department, I can't find a lie there. So
how many times have I said LeBron needed it? How many times have I said that LeBron needed a jump shot, a consistent jump shot? I've said that
since I've known you.
I've said he needed a post-game because you can't bully your way to the basket and travel 90% of the time and get away with it. I also said he needs to, I don't know, make some free throws late.
And when they try to compare Jordan and Kobe to LeBron, I just go there. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. So I had a conversation with LeBron session where when he was,
I knew it was coming.
when he was just listing all the platitudes that LeBron has,
mm-hmm.
and he was hitting me with his sort of facts, and I came back with facts on my end of, okay, that may be true, but this is also true, and you're refuting all this. Here it is. One of the things that I said to him was, you're saying that this guy is bigger, stronger, faster, better. I could see bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I could see stronger. I could probably even see faster to a degree. Better?
No.
Let's go to the free throw line. I mean, both Kobe and Jordan, they were hitting free throws at an 83 to 84% clip for a career.
Yep.
LeBron James, and no, this isn't slander, ladies and gentlemen. He has never shot 80% from the field from the free throw line in any season he's played.
Yep. And that covers 17 years.
So that right there proves your statement correct and my statement correct, and it is not being or it's not being butthurt.
No.
Or not trying to hold the guide on for another player. Your eyes see the same thing my eyes see. Wow, okay. He has some skills, but there are a whole ton of holes in him.
Mm-hmm.
And the free throw line is just one of them.
I've been consistent with this argument for his entire career, and I will continue to be consistent with this argument. And I'll give you another one that you and I both agree on that the Bronsexuals don't. Someone mentioned to me at my job that LeBron James has changed the game. I looked him in the eyes and I said, no, sir, he hasn't. He nearly dropped his coffee. And he actually said this to me, and I'll borrow from you. Quote, how can you say such a thing about the greatest player ever? Close quote. I knew you'd get a kick out of that. And my response is going to give you an even bigger kick out of it. I looked him dead in the eye, and I said, LeBron James has not changed the game. I can tell you a few people who have. He said, well, lay them on me. Let's see. Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, the King, Michael Jordan, and the Splash Brothers. And I got a look of fire from his eyes when I mentioned the Splash Brothers. And he said, what did they ever do? Let's see. 3 for 5 in the World Championship Series. Let's see. The most dynamic shooting backcourt that we've seen in a long time, if ever.
Heck, I'll go with ever.
I mean, the most dynamic shooting backcourt we've ever seen. And they've done something LeBron hasn't done. He says, what's that? They have taken an anomaly and have turned it into a weapon. And he says, what are you talking about? How many teams do you see attempting at least 30 3-point field goals a game?
I know of one.
The response I got from him, nothing but crickets. And I patted him on the shoulder. And I said, find the lie with the Splash Brothers. I patted him on the shoulder and I walked off. He has not spoken to me since, and I said that 3 weeks ago. To the point, ladies and gentlemen, where if I walk by and he's talking basketball and I drop a little nugget of knowledge, his response is, and you better hold on to your seats, "Oh, go away. You don't know anything about basketball." I walked off smiling. I only said for 17 years that I've watched him play, LeBron is a phenomenal athlete, but an incomplete basketball player. So someone made the argument, oh, he can guard 1 through 5. Oh, yeah? There's a fellow named Magic Johnson who did it first.
And did it his rookie season.
1980. Oh, and by the way, folks, that came in Philadelphia against the Philadelphia 76ers when they were minus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who had a migraine. And he injured himself in Game 5, and he had a migraine.
Yeah.
And Magic Johnson said, "Never fear, Magic's here." That was to Paul Westhead, who was the coach at the time, and he stepped in and played center.
Yep.
And nearly threw a triple-double at Philadelphia. 42 points.
3 6 shy of it.
Yep. 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. And, I know they didn't make unanimous votes back then, but Brent Musburger said he was the unanimous most valuable player. And I'm not arguing that fact.
R2.
I knew you would get a kick out of that.
I love the silent treatment you received. Not that you're getting the silent treatment, but I'm loving the fact that you received the silent treatment from the fact you presented facts to this guy about how the Splash Brothers have changed the game. I mean, the fact that he pushes back to you on that, it just tells me he doesn't even look at the game.
Nope.
I mean, and I will throw one more name in there, Shaq. And the reason why I put him in there is he may not be the prototype center, as in he has all the skills necessary. However, his presence on the court, we rarely ever saw a guy like him in a 3-year stretch dominate that way. Now, of course, we've seen Will dominate, period, but not the way Shaq did from 2000 to 2002.
Right.
And it was to the point where teams got smaller almost on purpose because they wanted to get faster and they wanted to get more athletic. Hence the changing game with Jordan. because of him, players like him and a slight forerunner to him, even though he's a small forward, James Worthy. We're seeing nothing. We have seen, and you can stop me when I say this, we have seen athletic wings because of more Jordan than Worthy, but definitely Worthy too, because of those two. And it was sped up by the fact that, well, we can't go through this big fella. We barely can go around them, but this is the best way we can do it. And teams got smaller, teams got more athletic, and then all of a sudden you started to have these stretch 4s or stretch 5s who wanted to bring Shaq out of the post. To defend, to open up the lane for the athletic guys to drive down it. So LeBron was supposed to be the guy to push that forward because when teams are starting to do that, LeBron gets drafted. And he wowed me, and I know he wowed you with some of the things he did. On the court.
He did.
But probably ever since his second year in the league, I really have seen very little improvement from him since. And people could say, well, he didn't shoot as much from outside the second year versus the 15th, the 16th, 17th year. Okay, fine. Yeah. But when he does shoot outside, it's streaky.
Yeah, it is.
He'll have a game where he can go 7 or 9 from 3, and then the next 3 or 4 games go 2 for 9. And that's not an exaggeration. That's just fact. Just look at the tape.
Seen it happen. Live.
And then, And as for to me, this is my biggest point with him. As for the need to develop a post game, he's in the twilight of his career. He's not in his prime anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to find ways to get easy buckets. And it is, it'd be easy for him even if he had a Shaq in the middle. We don't even have that anymore because the stretch 4s and 5s want to be point guards.
Mm-hmm.
So the lane should be all his. I mean, he's Karl Malone's size, but he plays much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And even Magic, when he came back into the league with his 6'9", 215, 20-pound frame, he said he was going to be a power forward and played the power forward position.
Which means he camped out in the post 80% of the time.
Right. And what does that also mean? Well, that means that he has to find ways to contribute to the team and make it easier for the team to win. And in that case for him, he couldn't be that wonderful Showtime point guard. He had to revert to being a post-up player. Well, that's the same thing I'm seeing with LeBron. Now, yeah, you could say, he's a point guard now and he has great court vision. And I've said he has court vision like Magic Johnson. And he does.
Yeah.
Not as good as him, but his court vision is close to that. Unfortunately, he has a penchant for turning over the ball. So, you can't say this guy is the greatest thing you've ever seen. On one hand, and on the other hand, you forget, okay, there's been times that he, in big moments, dropped the ball. And I mean literally dropped the ball. And I'm not talking about 2007. I'm barely talking about 2011. I'm talking about 2015.
Yep.
2017. 2018.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's those moments where we've seen him not come up to the occasion. And then you have, to me, what is called amnesia with these bronsexuals.
How many times have we talked about that? The amnesia with these bronsexuals. And yeah. I'm gonna give you a lob. I'm gonna give you a lob from Drexler to Olajuwon. When I saw a post, and you touched on it, but I'm gonna give you the floor when I say, and a bronsexual said to me, in Jordan's NBA, Bron would average a triple-double, 35, 10, and 10. And I'm gonna back away.
I almost cursed right there. Okay.
Hey, true story, folks. This was a post I saw on Facebook. I kid you not. I read those words, and I laughed. I laughed.
I know you did. I know you read them. I know you read them. That's what I'm talking about. This collective bronsexuals seem to have about LeBron James. It's like they have. It's almost like when they're training. When horse trainers train thoroughbreds, they put these blockers in between. No, well, not in between. They put the blockers to the left and to the right of the horse's vision, and all they can see is in front of them.
Yep.
That seemingly is how bronsexuals are. They don't seem to want to look to the right or left at competition that may be on par with them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to look behind, which means that they're studying what is behind them, and they don't want to look up because they don't want to study from the greats either. And it's just, man, it's amazingly almost mind-numbing at times in having conversations with them. And I'm like, they just tout 27-7-7. Yeah, that's great. Number career points scored. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. He may be 40,000, 10,000, 10,000. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not debating all of those being wonderful. I'm not debating any of those platitudes whatsoever. I don't care what player it is.
No.
But you can, to me, I put it like this. LeBron James is the NBA version of Brett Favre. What do I mean by that? You have a guy who stacked up wonderful stats. The guy threw for over 500 touchdowns. The guy threw for over 70,000 yards. That's on the plus side.
Mm-hmm.
On the minus side, he still now is the record holder for throwing most interceptions in the career in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
To this day. LeBron, well, he's on track to, if I'm lying, I'm dying. He's on track to become the single most prolific scorer in NBA history.
Yeah.
He's at, 34,000 now?
Yeah.
The record is 38. So if he has 2, maybe even 3 decent scoring years, he will break that easily.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Cap. Love you, Kareem.
Captain Skyhook.
And, okay, and I'll throw in he'll probably get 10,000 assists, tails, and rebounds along with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plus side. The minus side,
most
he
turnovers.
is currently right now 124 turnovers away from taking over as the most prolific turnover-prone player in NBA history. The league goes 73 years.
Mm-hmm. And
that's why I make the equation.
Yep.
That's why I make the correlation between Brett Favre and LeBron James. You've got a guy who has prodigious talent, but is reckless with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And has proven that over his career.
And, oh, by the way, I add this about Brett Favre. Only 2 Super Bowl appearances. One won, lost the other to the legendary John Elway.
Wow, what a performance. That's the thing that these Brownsexuals lack. Just this perspective, the right perspective, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That they will go to war with you saying, well, I mean, this guy is a wonderful playoffs performer. You know, when he gets to the playoffs, he never loses the first round. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
I never knew that you got a trophy for being undefeated in the first round of the NBA playoffs. I never knew that. I thought the goal was to
win the thing.
Yeah, I thought the goal was to win more than you lost every single series in the playoffs to get you the Larry O'Brien Trophy hoisted over your head. I thought that's what the goal was. Not to only say that I was better than another team once,
mm-hmm.
and then you go on to the next series and you get blown out. I mean, heck, okay, well, fine. I guess we should have thrown a parade for Michael Jordan in May of 1988, because that would have meant that he finally broke through, won a series against the Cavaliers,
mm-hmm.
took a full tilt of 5 games, and Jordan went absolutely ballistic point scoring wise, and say, well, hey, look at that. Jordan, he's the king of the first round, because the next round, the Pistons put them out the playoffs.
Yep.
So,
which leads to this
you
point.
How ridiculous that
which
sounds?
which leads to another point that I've always made. There's a certain word that I've always used with LeBron that he has lacked, and that word is progression.
Wonder. The guy thinks that his body, and yeah, he does great work with his body, but the guy thinks that by his body alone, that he could just simply, when you roll the ball out on the court, he picks it up, and he is the most dominant force on the court of the 10 who are on it. And you can only do that for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Now LeBron, he's somewhat of a student of the game, but there's other parts of the game he doesn't study. he should study Shaquille O'Neal from that aspect. I mean, this guy, like I said, most dominant figure in the 3-year window I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But starting in 2003, we didn't see it whole hardcore with the cracks then, or in 2004. But we started to see it in 2005 and then 2006, to the point where he won his 4th championship. He wasn't the player that brought them the chip. He was a role player by then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just said he was the most dominating force in 2002, but he was a role player 4 years later. LeBron needed to study that and say, okay, well, doggone it. Well, so with my sheer body, I can't be that big time force. I'm going to have to learn some skills to extend my career. I love the big fella, but that's what Shaq did not do.
Yeah.
And LeBron is on that track to do the same thing. And as far as your friend saying that LeBron changed the game, I will give him credit. Yes, LeBron changed the game off the court.
Yes.
And I don't mean his charitable actions. I mean, he was the guy who made it okay for free agents to pal up with one another and say, okay, let's pool our resources. Let's band together. Let's win a chip together. That type of thing did not go on before July 2010, June and July 2010. But it went on then. So in terms of changing the way the game was played, there you go. And how would you say he changed that game? Well, hey, you had a guy in Kevin Durant who he criticized LeBron in 2010 in doing that move, only 6 years later to realize, well, man, I really need a ring. And I'm not going to get it in Oklahoma City. Let's go out to the Bay Area. If he didn't see that type of move that LeBron made, that 6 summers ago, Durant would not have made that same move in 2016.
True.
That is how LeBron James has changed the game, but it was off the court. On the court, LeBron has not changed the game because LeBron is a descendant of James Worthy. He is a direct descendant of him. A guy who has extreme high motor, a guy who can run up and down the floor, the guy who's like a gazelle.
Yeah.
And the guy who, if given the chance to make an impact and he's flowing, will do that. And yeah. So, and that's not an insult to LeBron. That's just what he is and who he is.
It's just fact. It's just absolute fact. And
now,
these bronsexuals don't like facts. We've established that. These bronsexuals do not like facts. Period. They just don't.
For another example, when people say the greatest small forward of all time is easily LeBron James, I'm like, I can think of a guy from French Lick, Indiana,
Larry Bird,
who would have a real good conversation with you.
I can think of three small forwards who are all Hall of Famers that will put their game against LeBron's and will smash him. James Worthy, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen.
And I'll focus on Bird. So with him, he wasn't nearly as athletic as LeBron. And he would be the first to admit that.
Yeah.
But what he lacked in athleticism, he made up for in grit, in effort, and in being a skilled basketball player.
Awesome.
And if it weren't for the fact that he had back issues, that dude would have had a 20-year career because that jump shot was wet.
Easy.
That jump shot was wet, and his court vision not talked about as much.
No.
His court vision was awesome too. He could have easily had a 20-year career because that. And LeBron can't say that for that reason. He will have a 20-year career, yes, but he can't say that he had one because he was a great or dynamic scorer, or he had great court vision to where he took care of the ball, or he was a wonderful rebounder. He has the stats, but he doesn't have that skill set where you say, okay, well, he is great in this one area. and he's good in the others. he's decent at scoring. He's decent as an assist guy. He's decent with rebounding. He's decent with defense, and he's getting worse.
Yeah, he's getting a lot worse.
You can't tell me one area in basketball that LeBron James is great at. You can't tell me. You can't even say he's great at penetration, because I can name many players today who can probably penetrate and drive down the hole better than he can now. So
I can name quite a few.
And two of them are in
San Francisco.
Right. So I will make that challenge. What does LeBron James do? One skill he does better than anybody, either in today's game or in the history of the league? And the answer is nothing.
Nothing.
But that is not a slight to him. That's just the facts.
It is.
And as far as changing the game on the court, and you get a Pasha that Stephon Curry, along with Klay Thompson, gets that, or how dare you say that about him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But what
as
about...
I said on your show, and as I said on my favorite team is the Houston Rockets. I root for them.
Yep.
Been doing so 40 years strong.
Yep.
Not changing. But I'm also not going to have rose-colored glasses when I look at them. This is a team that when they saw Curry and Thompson hit their threes at alarming rates and get the results that they got with their offense, which was to bring bigs out from the post to open up the lane so that they could take care of, this is something that people don't talk about with them, so they could take advantage of their passing skills.
Yep.
Because they cut and cut and cut to the hole. The other three players, the front court should just simply make backdoor cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Daryl Morey, general manager of the Rockets, said, "Yeah, let's copy that." Of course, he copied the 2014 version of the Warriors,
and not the current version.
Not the current version, and not the you said the word earlier, progressed version of them. To where they took that model and they improved on it.
Yep.
To where it was to a point where you can't say that Stephon Curry and Klay Thompson are just 3-point shooting artists.
Which is the argument they'll make which is the argument that most folks that don't like the Splash Brothers will make for Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. Oh, they just shoot. No, my friend.
No.
They do a lot more. They do a lot more than shoot.
No. Curry's a really good help defender. Thompson's one of the best one-on-one defenders we got in the league.
Yes.
So for anyone to say that all they know how to do is shoot from 25 feet and beyond, miss me with that. Look at the game, study it. And the reason why I know the Warriors so well is I got a chance to see them up close and personal, one May after another with the Rockets, and see that team clad in gold and blue knock out my team clad in white and red 4 times in 5 years. So I know what I'm seeing with this team. With and without Durant.
Yep.
They have put the Rockets out the playoffs with and without Durant.
Mm-hmm.
So this team has changed the way the game is played. Because look how the game is played now.
Yes.
Do you see a post-up player?
Nope.
No. Do you see teams more than the Rockets now try to shoot 25, 30, 35 footers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Did you see that 10 years ago? No. Why? You didn't see that then because you didn't have a shooter the likes of a Klay Thompson even, let alone Stephon Curry. You didn't see shooters like that. So your point's valid. They changed the way the game is played because the game is wide open because the team like the Warriors make you defend 45 feet of court.
Yep.
Versus 15 to 20.
Oh, and Steph has a great
I'm like, you don't even study the game.
and Stephen has a great mid-range game, folks. Okay, don't get it twisted.
He has an underrated mid-range game.
Yep. Don't get it twisted. He has a great mid-range game.
The one thing I don't like about him is he has the ability to stop. He can penetrate and stop on a dime and either do a floater or do it just a straight jump shot.
Yep.
And to me, that is what's missing in the game. Mid-range jump shot.
Mid-range. And
to me, I think people can cook. Oh, let's go right back to LeBron. See, you all think that we're doing this to poke fun at the guy. No, we're seeing holes in his game to what he can do to improve upon it. And 17 years in, he hasn't.
He really hasn't. He really has. He really, really hasn't.
So, no, LeBron hasn't changed the way the game's played on the court.
No.
But yes, the Splash Brothers have. And to bolster your point, that has, I think, Colin Cowherd actually, Fox Zone, Colin Cowherd, actually said the same. And fully agrees with you. And fully agrees with you as to who and why.
Yep.
And I fully agree with him and you as to who and why.
Mm-hmm. And people are arguing with us about our basketball facts. Yeah, I kind of grew up watching basketball with my parents.
Yeah.
Especially my dad, because people seem to forget the era where the NBA was on CBS for many years.
Ooh,
before that, ABC had it until 1973. No, check that. 1974. Right. 1974.
Okay, what sport?
1974, the NBA contract moved from ABC to CBS. And CBS had it until 1990. And then, of course, one of the greatest eras, 1990 to 2002, the NBA was on NBC. And I really hate the fact that it's not on NBC anymore. All right, let's just be real. Speaking of the NBA, let's shift gears. There has been talk. Let me try that sentence again. There has been talk that the NBA will vote for its champion. And I would rather see them play it out. I'd rather see them play it out. Let's just be real. I'd rather see them play it out and decide it on the court.
Of course.
You've seen the same articles I have. You know where I'm going.
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm going. There have been articles put out there now, folks, that it could come down if the NBA season is canceled, and I'm praying it's not, because I want to see Giannis get a ring. Okay, I want to see Giannis.
I do too.
I want to see Giannis get a ring. Number one, and number two, I want to see one of my two rumors of a big man coming to Golden State become reality, and I really think it will. More on that in a moment. But if the NBA season is canceled, it could come down to a vote of who the champion is, kind of like college football back in the 80s. And you know exactly where I am going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I'm just going to turn and hand you the ball, and you take it from there.
So when I saw that article, because I saw the same one, I said, man, these cats want to grease the wheels so hard. To give this guy a mythical world championship. And this guy meaning LeBron.
And it would indeed be mythical because it wasn't decided on the court.
I'm like, they want to give this guy a mythical world championship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, come on. Voting on who is the best team. This league has been in existence since 1947.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1947. When has it ever been about the prospect of, well, a governing body thinks this team is the best? The whole premise of the NBA has been we settle all of team things on the court. Because I'll go back to 1995. And the reason why I go back to 1995 is that was, well, a great year for me, great year for your boy.
Yep.
The Rockets, who were only 47-35, they were records-wise leagues below all four teams they faced off in the playoffs.
Yep.
Which were in succession: the Jazz, the Suns, the Spurs, and the Magic. You know what those four teams had in common? Each team won at least 59 games that year,
and each team had home court advantage in the postseason.
And each court against the Rockets had home court advantage against them. You know what also those four teams had in common? They all lost to the Rockets in that same year where they won at least 59 games.
Yep.
So you can't tell me that you can vote for a champion. There's a reason why college football decided to go away from that. And it is because they knew voting for a national champion was weak and bogus. And so they try to sell it on the field as best they can.
Yeah. So
we
how
can
about
debate
that?
on how good or bad the system is, but they've done away with voting a champion.
So how about this?
Come on, man.
Couple more points. How about this? There's a chance that the NBA season will resume, and I'm praying it does. But given the coronavirus pandemic, and the curve is starting to flatten a little bit, that everything will be played in Las Vegas. Your thoughts on that?
Okay, as a fan, that'd be great. It'd be wonderful to actually look at something, and I can't really hate on it as a fan. Being pragmatic, however, I don't want those players to be at risk.
Right.
I mean, the reason why sports shut down was because an NBA player was tested positive for the novel coronavirus. So they shouldn't restart, and then all of a sudden they have a case again.
Yeah.
Because the possibility at the moment, if they were to today do that, the possibility of that happening is high.
Very high. Very high.
You know, so no, I don't want them to do that just for the reason of I don't want to look at these players as commodities only.
Right.
And these players aren't commodities only. They're not just products. They're human beings too. And I hate it too because I do want to see Giannis hoist up the Larry O'Brien Trophy because I love brothers like him.
Yes.
The guys like him are what made me a fan of the NBA in the first place. A guy who openly says, you know what? If you're wearing my uniform, you're good. But if you're not wearing my uniform, I want to bust you. And I don't want to go on another team to bust you.
Right.
That makes me root for a guy like that. So I want Giannis to get his chip. But if they can't do it, no. Shut the whole season down.
Bring it back
please.
When everything is safe.
Yes.
I've said it many times on this show.
100%.
Bring it back when everything is safe and the pandemic has passed. All right? Because you don't want to put the fans at risk. You don't want to put the players at risk, especially. You don't want to put the media at risk. Those are the three main things that make up sports: the fans, the players, and the media. Don't bring anything back. Please don't bring anything back until it is absolutely safe. That's why the WNBA draft has gone virtual. The NFL draft has gone virtual. I would not be surprised if the NBA draft and the Major League Baseball draft will go virtual. If it has to go virtual for a while, so be it.
I would not be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if society does reopen per se right around the time the NBA and the Major League Baseball draft happens, which in both cases that'd be June.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they still went virtual even after that. I would not be surprised at all.
That's how I'm attacking my sales. That's how I'm attacking my sales, and I'm ready to go. Okay, and we'll close with this point. Okay, and it's a couple of big announcements, and I've hinted at this with you. There's another show via Snowman's Digital Media that's going to debut a little later on today. And the man that you're hearing on the line with me is, in essence, going to be my partner. It's called Beyond the Arc, and we are just going to talk hoops in all levels and all areas. Got a friend, Henry G., who is equipping me with a lot of women's basketball interviews. So I'm going to hit those and bring it into the show. But, yeah, I'd love for you to be my partner on Beyond the Arc.
Wow. Well, hey, all I got to say to that is thank you. I gladly accept. And for those who think that we were hard to deal with before,
you ain't seen nothing yet.
No, we just scratched the surface, my friend. So, yeah, I mean, let's bring it on. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be a partner with you.
Beyond the Arc will be on the RTF Sports Network and also via snowmandigitalmedia.com. There'll be a podcast version of it, and it'll be an hour-long show, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. The podcast will roll each and every day. So, yeah, us brothers are going to be busy. And to the bronzexuals, let me change that. And I'm going to end this on a note that you've often given me. To the folks who believe and continue to believe that we can't come together and do anything when it comes to sports talk, I believe Cole Johnson has said this to me a few times, and I hope to get it right. We were through with it before you knew what to do with it.
The mic has been dropped.
My partner in crime, I love you very much, and I can't wait for Beyond the Arc, man. We're going to be busy. We are going to be busy.
Oh, I can't wait for it too. Thank you for the invite for this, and thank you for the future invite for our new show. Thank you so much, my friend. Love you.
I love you too, brother.
Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
I've had a lot of fun on this show in the 7 years it's been active, and I've had some great guests on here. But there's a bigger plan for this show. When I reached out to this gentleman and I said I'd love for you to come on my show at the recommendation of one of my brothers in broadcasting, he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And all I will say is former Texas A&M Aggie. He played in the Southwest Conference. You old schoolers remember that. Let's see. He played for the Miami Dolphins. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler. And he played with a fellow named Dan Marino. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks who's in the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Richmond Webb, one of the stalwarts of that offensive line. And he joins me right now. How are you, my friend? Good to have you.
Hey, man, Brian, I'm glad to be on your show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Did you have fun playing with Dan Marino?
Man, I had a blast. Anytime you play with a guy with that type of talent and you get to actually experience it firsthand, some of the throws and stuff that he makes, and then you go back and watch it on film, you definitely, you might not appreciate it when it happens, but after you have time, you get older and you get a chance to reflect back, man, that was some of the best times I had in my life. So I definitely cherish those times when I played with him.
You were drafted in 1990 out of Texas A&M. And as I mentioned at the top of this interview, at that time, Texas A&M was not in the SEC nor the Big 12. They were in a little conference that I enjoyed watching called the Southwest Conference. How different, how much fun was that playing in the Southwest Conference with just Texas and Texas schools there?
Yeah, and, you can sum it up better. When I first went to Texas A&M, the only school that wasn't in the Southwest Conference was that wasn't in the state of Texas was the University of Arkansas, and I think they were one of the first teams to move to the SEC from the Southwest Conference. But it was good, but it was you knew a lot of the same guys because you had like 7 Division I schools in the state of Texas. So
right,
you had some friends go here, some friends go there, but it was just a big interstate rivalry. But man, we had some good times back then. So I could definitely remember. I know a lot of people can't because that was quite some years ago. But
yeah.
We had fun playing in the Southwest Conference. Yeah,
I mean, and you have to think about it. Anyone who remembers the Southwest Conference, you had schools like Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. Good grief. Rice was there. You mentioned Arkansas. See, I got hooked on the Southwest Conference when ESPN used to play those games late at night when when they thought no one would appreciate the Southwest Conference. I tell you what, this old schooler does. I miss those times.
Oh, no question. And I grew up in the Dallas area, and back when I was in high school, that's when they had Eric Dickerson.
Yep.
Lance McElhaney was the quarterback, and Craig James. So it was the Pony Express, and a lot of people didn't know about it, but they had some really great teams back then. So it was really competitive, and I think my true freshman year, I really didn't play much, but we played the University of Auburn in the Cotton Bowl my true freshman year, and they had a guy that some people might remember named Bo Jackson. And we actually beat Auburn, but he broke a screen against us, and we had guys in the secondary that ran like a 4.3 40, and they had an angle on him. And I said, oh, my goodness. I said, now I know why this guy won the Heisman Trophy. And I was like, he was something. We beat him, but I could tell he was a special type player.
Yeah.
And even played him when he even went to the Raiders. I was at Miami at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But, if his career just wasn't cut short, that's one guy that I said should be possibly considered for the Hall of Fame, because you look at, yards per carry per average, and it was definitely an injury that shortened his career span. But, a guy that can play football and baseball, and, the stuff he did running up the wall, and he was just a freak athlete, man. It's just, those guys don't come along that often. And, to be able to experience that, I was like, man, yeah, he was truly special.
He was, and I loved watching him. And there was one Auburn, Alabama game that I watched. It was on ABC, and it was at it was in Birmingham. They played it at Legion Field, and Keith Jackson was on the call, and Bo Jackson, he gets the handoff and wasn't touched for like a 78-yard touchdown. And all I can remember Keith Jackson saying was, "Goodbye, in your face." I watched a replay of that, and I was cracking up laughing.
But you know what? Keith Jackson was the type of guy that if he did a game and you made a big play, you were almost considered for the All-American team just by the way he would announce.
Yes.
And it was just the way he said it, or it wasn't real deep terminology, but he just had that nectar, that gift to just, he just had it, but man, I used to love listening to him back in the day, man. He's a great announcer.
Man, I miss Keith Jackson. I miss the way he would call college football games, and it would be something, and like you said, you'd be considered for All-American if you had a play and he called it. Well, Bo Jackson had a few of them, to say the least. And he even made it up to Chicago a couple times to see my Northwestern Wildcats in 1995. And you knew it was something if you were at a school that didn't get an ABC game for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden you have a breakout year and Keith Jackson of the A1 team for ABC shows up. And everybody in Evanston and in Chicago is going, man, this is a big deal now.
It's a big deal, and if Keith Jackson does, it validates you. You legitimate. It's just like if he was doing your game, like you said, that was their number one lineup, and if he did it, it was something serious. That's the one. Say, hey, let's not mess this up. He don't come here often. Let's show that we really belong here. And you're right about that. He was that type of guy.
Yeah, he was that type of guy. And speaking of that type of guy, you get drafted by the Dolphins, and that type of guy was Dan Marino. The first time you played with Dan and you were in the huddle with him for a regular season game, what was that like?
Well, I think we can even go back before that. The first time I actually walked in the huddle, me and Keith Sims were rookies, and we came in together. And then not only was Dan in the huddle, but you had the Marks brothers, Mark Duper, Mark Clayton.
Mark Clayton, yep.
These were guys that I watched when I was in college, Monday Night Football, and, they would light it up doing the exciting plays, this and that. So then you're like, man, I'm really here. And I can remember it was one of the first few practices. Marino comes up to me and Keith Sims. He said, what's the most important thing you got to remember? And so we kind of look at each other. We said, we got to remember the playbook. And he was like, no. And, we started going through stuff. We got to remember assignments, how to block. He's like, no, that's it. He said, the most important thing you got to remember is to protect me. He said, remember that, everything. And we kind of laughed. But, it was a true statement because, the thing that was probably my motivation when I got there was Marino was already Hall of Fame status. He was about 8 years ahead of us or whatever. So he was already known. And in the back of my mind, I was just saying, okay, I don't ever want to be the guy that's remembered that gets this type of guy hurt. Because if you do that, they're never going to forget you. Oh yeah, I remember that guy we drafted out of Texas A&M, and so that was motivation enough for me because I understood it was Coach Don Shula. He was already a legend.
Yep.
And it was Marino. So I didn't have to worry about Coach. He was on the sideline. we just had to make sure that we wasn't responsible for getting him hurt.
Right.
And that was my motivation. But, those guys, the March brothers, Marino, came in. We learned a lot from those guys, how to conduct yourself as a professional, not only the physical practices and stuff like that, but learning the mental aspect of the game, how to study film, this and that, what it required to be a professional and to perform at a high level. And I just, even through college, you never wanted to be the weak link. So you said, okay, I got to raise my level of play to try to get up here with these guys. So I never wanted to be the guy that was considered the weak link, or, yeah, he's on the team, but we just got to always kind of cover up for him, this and that. I wanted to, carry my own, hold my own, and say, okay, the better we are, the better we going to have better results. So that's the kind of the way I approached it back then.
One of the best rivalries that I've watched through the 90s, whenever you guys played Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills, because it was a high-scoring game and it would be madness all over the place. The first time you had a chance to face them in the postseason, oddly enough, was 1990. It was January 1991 at Rich Stadium, and the snow kept coming down. You heard your feet squeaking on the field. NBC had that call. In that playoff atmosphere, matching up against another Hall of Famer and Jim Kelly, what was that like? What was going through your head when y'all got to Buffalo and you're going, we have to play these guys?
We had to play them, and it wasn't like we were surprised because we had played them twice. I think we beat them early in the season down in Miami, and then we came up later in the year. They beat us, and so it was another rematch. So you wasn't going to get surprised by Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed. Then you had Bruce Smith. You had Cornelius Bennett. They were loaded, and we just didn't have enough. They always had a little bit more, and the better chance we would have had is if we could have played that game at home. And I think we went 12-4. They went 13-3. So
right,
and they had that K gun, and I tell people, and that was one of our arch rivalries. That you look back in the early '90s to go to the Super Bowl 4 times consecutively, year after year, and I always tell people this because I watch those games. I really felt that they should have beat the Giants that first Super Bowl.
Yeah. But
the kick was wide right. And I said, if they win that game, maybe it changes the dynamics of everything else. But they were really good teams. And sometimes I think it goes unappreciated because if you don't win the Super Bowl, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, y'all win, but y'all lost 4 times. Kind of like I think the Vikings did it in the 70s. They had some really great teams.
Yeah.
But tremendous respect. Didn't like them at all because, they won our arch rivalries and they kept us from going. But you had to respect them because when it came time to play, they found a way to do it. They found a way to win. And they just had a roster of, Hall of Famers on that team. So tremendous respect, but I just didn't like them, and I still don't like them. I can deal with them in the off season, but once the season starts, I'm riding with my fans. That's it. So yeah.
Oh man, Richmond Webb joining me here. Man, I gotta know this from the inside. How tough was it in those times to go up against guys like Cornelius Bennett and Bruce Smith?
Oh, it was like, Bruce was already Bruce when I got there. So I knew about him. I was just another rookie, I'm just trying to say, we just got to try to keep Marino clean. But,
yeah,
he was that guy, and just watching him on film, you knew you had to play 60 minutes and it was going to be hell. And he was going to the whistle, if not past the whistle.
Yep.
And you had to really get mentally ready for that. You knew you were going to be sore. It's going to be didn't matter whether it was a run play, pass play, whatever. He was a guy that wasn't going to take plays off, and he was going to keep coming. So you might as well get your mind right. So definitely the toughest guy that I had to block twice, sometimes 3 times a year. So I tell people that all the time. Yeah, he was the best guy that I had to go against.
And early on, it was 3 times a year because you'd see him twice in the regular season, and then you'd see him in the playoffs. And sometimes, you don't want to appear mentally fatigued because that's when your opponent will get you. But sometimes when you see Buffalo 3 times, you're just sitting there going, here we go again against these guys.
Here we go again. And you knew, what I'm saying? You knew what they brought to the table. So you knew you had to play almost mistake-free football because they had to, just like we could score, we knew they had that same dynamic in their offense. So it wasn't like, okay, if we get down, this and that, we'll get the ball back. No, it was almost like we got to score touchdowns. We can't settle for field goals because we knew how good those guys were. And a lot of times that would be the difference. If they could get you to settle for a field goal or punt the ball or whatever, they go down, score another touchdown, a guy misses a tackle or something, and they got you right where they wanted, and it was, hit Andre Reed on a little crossing pattern that should go for like 10 or 12 yards. Next thing you know, he's going for about 60 yards. He started on the right, and he's all the way over the left, and he's keep going. Or you miss Thurman on a little screen that should be, 3rd and 5, it should be over, and he scampers for 20 yards and keeps the defense out there. It was just frustrating like that, but they were really good. And I give them their credit, even though I don't like them. I like the guys now that we're retired.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, yeah, we cool off the field, but when it come time to play, I ain't got no love for you because I know you ain't got none for me.
When you watch guys like Kelly and Thomas and Andre Reed, what was it like watching Thurman Thomas play in that K-gun offense?
It wasn't fun because you see the plays that he was making to keep the chains moving. And, when I was a rookie, I went back and I was like, okay, I understand rivalries, this and that, blah, 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 but nobody in the AFC East never really liked each other. So I said, okay, what's the deal with Buffalo and Miami? What's the deal? So I go back and I'm looking through the history archives or whether I found it. And I think in the 70s, might be wrong, but I'm pretty close, the Dolphins beat the Bills like 20 times in a row. So I said, okay, I got it. If somebody beats your head in like that, every chance you get, you want to step on them and finish it. So I said, okay, this is why this rivalry is the way it is. I get it now. So it ain't going to get better. It's only going to get worse. But hey, you got to deal with the hand you dealt and get ready for it. So they definitely took pleasure in beating the Dolphins and this and that. But, it's probably, I think Bruce, Thurman, Andre, Kelly, and probably Cornelius. He'll probably go into the Hall of Fame. I'm surprised he hadn't made it in there yet.
Yeah.
But you got that type of caliber, not just Pro Bowl guys, but those type of caliber guys, and okay, now it makes sense why they won all those games the way they did.
Richmond Webb joining me here on the program. Another quarterback that I speak about a lot because I had a chance to see his entire career was Steve Young. And in '92, you guys had a chance to play him at Candlestick Park. Up close and personal, how good was he?
The thing, I watched that NFL Films thing. Steve Young is a little older than me. So I already knew about him. He kind of took over, which he had to fill some shoes taking over for Joe Montana. But,
yes.
He was a different dynamic. He had a nice arm, but he could scramble and get outside the pocket and get the first down with his legs. He had that type of escapability or whatever. Very good. They still had Jerry Rice, Taylor, Craig. They had those type of guys. So I knew about the 49ers in the late 80s. I was at A&M, so I know about them. You know, Charles Haley, those type of guys. It was just thank goodness they were in the NFC because we had enough dealing with Buffalo and the AFC. So, yeah, we didn't need no more help. But yeah, they were really good, and he was a really good quarterback. I'll give him that.
I love it. I love it. You said thank God they were in the NFC because we had enough to deal with Buffalo. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Oh man, delightful conversation. Richmond Webb joining me. One final question. Do any young linemen come up to you and ask for advice on how to play the game or how to conduct themselves within the game?
I've met a few, but not so much come up to me. A lot of times, you know, you might strike up a conversation, have some guys just maybe coming out and I can tell them some of the things they need to do or some of the things that can possibly get you on the squad, you know, this and that. Things to definitely not do to definitely make them want to just send you on your way. But every now and then I run into some young guys. I know a couple at A&M, and then I met a couple from other schools, this and that. So if they reach out, I'm more than happy to, you know, share any experience or give them any advice possible. You know, that was the way I reached out to other guys, you know, some of the guys that play for the Dolphins. Anytime you can pick somebody's brain that's been there before you, it definitely helps. So I'm always open for that, and you're never too old to learn, and it always kept me humble. So every now and then I'll get a young guy, but I don't have anybody right now that, you know, I'm giving advice to.
How are you handling this pandemic? How are you handling this pandemic the way it is?
I'm staying at home. I think it's just trying to do what they ask people to do. I think the thing is just I'll be glad when the curve kind of flattens and we can kind of get back to some normalcy. But it just, man, it gives you a different appreciation for things. I think now it's forcing people to spend time with their families. And that's not always a bad thing. I think sometimes we get so busy, whether, you know, we're working, we're trying to do this, do that. And sometimes we just got to sit down and take a breath and just really appreciate what we have. It's more to life than just, you know, trying to make money or pay your bills, this and that. You know, sometimes it's just spending time together. And I think a lot of people, I think as Americans, sometimes we get away from that. And I understand because people do got to work this and that. But I just try to look at it and say, well, maybe this is something that give us some time to reflect and really appreciate some of the little things that we've overlooked. And I think people have got the message. So I'm hoping this thing kind of levels off where we can kind of get back and people can start working and stuff, because I know it's tough on a lot of people. That they don't have income coming in and stuff like that, and even small businesses and stuff. So that is my prayer. We kind of get this thing under wraps and kind of return to some normalcy.
Richmond Webb, 7-time Pro Bowler with the Miami Dolphins, and yes, he did protect that man named Dan Marino, and a lot of great stories here. Man, thanks for coming on. I'd look forward to having you on again.
Hey, Brian, I appreciate it. Had fun, and I'll look forward to it. You have a blessed day.
More stuff for you after this.